Hello and welcome back to the Google Workspace Update podcast from Strawberry 7. My name is Adam.
And my name is Adam.
We're here every week to bring you the latest updates of everything happening in the world of Google Workspace. This podcast is available from your regular podcast provider in audio format and also in video format on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Strawberry7.
Coming up on the show today.
We have 9 updates for you today, but Adam's told me some of the first ones are little update-lets as normal, so we'll probably get through those quite quick. But we have updates to Google Chat, Connecting Sheets, another to Connecting Sheets, Google Sheets, Google Meet, Google Chat, AppSheet, Google Calendar, and finally another one to Google Chat. As always, there is a link in the podcast or video description to the document that we read from. This document contains some more detailed information, some relevant links, lovely pictures, some moving graphics, and things that show you these in action. So, let's get to it.
On with the show. Right, yeah, so this week there's quite a few sheets coming in everyone's direction this week. But let's start off with the very first update, was an update-let, but that's to do with Google Chat. So there's a new improved media viewing option on Android devices within Google Chat. Google is introducing a new media viewer in Google Chat on Android devices that significantly improves the media browsing experience. Now, media thumbnails open faster in full screen, repeat playback is quicker, and you can swipe between all of the media in the conversation. Google has also added a shared media option that allows users to quickly browse through all the media shared within a chat conversation, which is accessible from the conversation as well as from the full screen view of every media item.
This is very nice. This is a very nice update. The moving graphic that's in the document that we link to is really good. It shows this in action. And I don't know what you thought when you saw this, Adam. I don't know what the experience is like on Android, but I definitely thought about the experience in iMessage on iOS, where you can just tap at the top and view all the media when you're in an iMessage conversation.
I really do like that feature because I don't always remember, if somebody has sent something to you, unless it happened to be yesterday or something, then you don't always remember where within a chat it is. But I always do remember, Adam sent me a picture of this, and so then if I know that you've sent me a picture, then this would be super helpful. Just go and look at, so then I can just see all the pictures, because the list of all the pictures will be significantly quicker, or there'll be less bulk there than just scrolling through a previous chat, unless you happen to know it precisely when it was.
Yeah, it definitely makes the whole process a lot quicker. So very, very nice update. And you've put a link in here for people about sort of sending and sharing files, is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, fantastic. I'm sure people find that very, very useful. Thank you, Adam. What have we got next, please?
Up next, we have another little update, this time to Connecting Sheets. So, extending the long-running queries within Connecting Sheets. So, currently, Google will time out any queries that take longer than 5 minutes for Connecting Sheets. This week, they have extended the timeout from 5 minutes to 10 minutes for BigQuery and Looker. This means Connecting Sheets users will be able to analyse data from queries that scan even larger data sets in Sheets.
Okay, great. Well, I don't really have anything to say about that.
Yeah, short and simple, doubles the time that it spends looking for a query. So maybe there was a bug, maybe there was a bit of an issue where not everything could be completed within the initial 5 minutes, and so they've just extended that a little bit to 10 minutes to hopefully help complete more processes.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right in saying that, Adam. It must have been some feedback that they had from people with very large data sets. So very useful for anybody who has those large data sets. And like you say, very nice, short and simple update. Thank you very much, Adam. I think we've got another one to Connected Sheets next, haven't we?
Yes, that's right. Another little update, to Connecting Sheets. So filter by measures and value in a pivot table within Connected Sheets for Looker. So previously, Connected Sheets users could filter by dimensions in pivot tables, but not measures. Now, Looker users are able to filter by measures in a pivot table, which allows for even more targeted analysis in connected sheets. Additionally, Looker users will be able to filter by value in a pivot table on connected sheets.
Again, really useful for people in that situation where they're using connected sheets and getting that data in. I've used pivot tables in the past, but not very much. But I remember every time I've used them, they've always been super, super useful. I don't know if this is the right graphic that's in here, Adam, but the moving graphic, I can't quite work out. Is it for a different update?
I think that may have been misplaced by an unknown individual, and I think that actually relates to the next one. However, I will say that although I could take full responsibility of this, I get all my information directly from Google, and so somebody at Google did initially place this in the wrong position, and so I just copied somebody's false homework.
You copy? Yep. I was just going to say that. Yeah, you copy somebody's wrong homework.
That's why you should never copy homework, because if they get it wrong, then you just get it wrong as well.
Two people have got it wrong. I just wanted to clarify that I wasn't completely misunderstanding what this sort of pivot table and connected sheets update was. For anybody listening who hasn't got access to the document or doesn't want to be bothered to access the document, the moving graphic is showing an emoji going into a cell, so that's why I was a bit confused.
Spoilers.
Oh, I know. Oh my God. Sorry, Adam, I've stolen your thunder. No, this is a very nice update for anybody doing this type of thing, and that will, I'm sure, really help people in that situation. Adam and I don't really use pivot tables very much. We certainly don't use connected sheets because we're not using that much data. But for anybody listening who is using that, or anybody who's got any customers using that, very, very nice update.
It sounds very cool in principle. And so the ideas of what we've heard, the types of things that it can do, what it's capable of, does sound very cool. But as you mentioned, it's just it's not really something that we use in our everyday.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Lovely, thank you, Adam. What have we got next? Oh, I wonder what it could be.
So, up next, again, another little update-let, and the following one is, there are 5 update-lets this week, which is quite a lot, actually, but this one is to do with Google Sheets. So, you can now add emojis in Google Sheets. So...
I didn't see that coming, Adam.
So emojis are a great way for people to express themselves across Google Workspace, and Google are super excited to announce that you can now insert emojis into a Google Sheet. So that's it. It's an option that it's now available.
Yeah, do you know what? We've talked a lot about these emoji updates before. For anybody new listening, Adam and I. It's not that we're not fans of them, it's just we just don't really get it so much.
It's kind of like time and a place. Like, when have you, because obviously Google Sheets is very comparable to Excel. When have you just been ever working on your Excel document and just thought to yourself, I really wish I could add an emoji into this cell. It will just tidy everything up nicely. It's like,
okay,
no.
I'm going to play devil's advocate here, and I'm going to present a scenario where possibly this could be quite useful. It's similar to, do you remember the update, I think it was 2 weeks ago now, where we saw an update to the smart chips where you could add emojis in with those voting options so that it sort of provided a bit of a visual cue? Maybe, in a spreadsheet, it would be quite nice to be able to add an emoji that would provide a bit of a visual cue as to what you were doing. So, for example, because don't forget, some people are very visual rather than literacy based with their learning and with their identification. If you opened a spreadsheet and somebody had dyslexia, for example, it might just be a bit easier for them to have little emojis. I mean, don't forget, emojis aren't just smiley faces, right? They're also objects. So it could be quite nice. Say you've got a sheet like the spreadsheet that I'm using at the moment for renovating my house, where I've got all sorts of different categories of things. So you might have everything that's related to the bathroom. Have, like, I don't know, a picture of a shower or something like that. Or the poop emoji, I don't know, whatever you want to put in. You can kind of put emojis in to create little visual cues to those different categories. That's the best business use case I can put forward for this update.
Yeah, I'm sure it's lovely for somebody. I'm sure Google are also somewhat twiddling their thumbs, just wondering where else can they put emojis, because they must be everywhere by now. But I'm sure they'll find one or two more places where they're missing. But as you say, like, we're definitely not against emojis at all. I'm almost, if anything, just a little bit surprised that we just keep seeing them cropping up everywhere.
Yeah, I am as well. I mean, I take the mick out of Apple, because it's like I keep saying, it's like my calculator can't keep up with how quickly I'm pushing numbers, but it's okay because I've got 5 new Fox emojis, so don't worry about it. It's this whole thing of not really updating some fundamental things that have been broken for quite a while. And for anybody listening with your iPhone, just open the calculator and try and push in 1, 2, 3 really quickly. It won't be able to handle it. It's a really weird little bug that's in the always been in iOS. So it's kind of my gripe with when things are a bit broken or don't work very well and they're not fixed, but you're sort of spending all of this time on these frivolous updates, or what we deem as frivolous. And this is the thing, Adam, maybe we're just a little bit out of touch. Maybe we're just not down with the kids. Maybe that everybody is loving these emojis, and when they hear we've got an emoji update, they're like, yes, and we're the old sort of granddad stuck in the mud, not getting it.
Well, for anybody listening, if you're super excited about this particular update and you just love emojis to be absolutely everywhere, write in and let us know. Leave us reviews, drop us an email, get in contact. We've got links to our social medias within the document that we link for the spreadsheet. So if you're very excited about this, please do get in contact and let us know, because we'd love to hear about it.
Yeah, I echo what Adam said. We don't hear anywhere near enough from our lovely listeners, and we would love to hear more about what you guys do, whether you're IT administrators, whether you're Google users, whether you want to see some other things coming forward in Google, and what you think about these updates. So yeah, we're always keen to hear from our listeners, and as Adam said, there's links everywhere for you to be able to sort of get in touch with us. Thank you very much, Adam. What have we got next, please?
Just super quickly before we move on, I'm sure everybody is dying to know, how do you insert emojis into Google Sheets?
We didn't say the most important bit, how you actually do it. I'm so sorry, Adam. Yeah.
So if you would like to insert an emoji into a cell within Google Sheets, you can type the @ symbol and then emoji, and then just click on your desired emoji. You can also go to insert, then emoji, and then select your emoji that way.
Lovely. And there is that moving graphic, which Adam will move by the time this podcast goes out, so it's in the right place, and that will show you that in action. But there's pretty straightforward on the instructions there, so I think everybody will be okay with that. Thank you, Adam. What have we got next, please?
So up next, our final update lit for the week. We had 5 update lits this week. So you can now scale meetings from 1,000 attendees with 500 attendees being viewers. Is now available for Google Workspace Education Plus. So in June 2023, Google announced viewer mode for Google Meet. For certain Google Workspace editions, viewer mode can be used to scale their meetings up to 1,000 attendees, with 500 attendees being viewers. Google has now expanded this functionality to Google Workspace Education Plus customers.
Oh, that's fantastic. So this is just an update which was kind of there already, but it's now just been expanded to Google Workspace Education Plus. Well, lovely little update for education. As any regular listeners will know, we support predominantly the education market, so it's very nice for us to see any Google updates come through for Google Education, and that's really nice to see with that scaling. And I can imagine that would be very, very useful for schools. I mean, I can imagine there are situations where a Google Meet could easily get to 1,000 attendees. However,
particularly at this time of year, actually, I was going to say, definitely in the UK, it's all very end of term. Lots of schools are about to break up for summer if they haven't already. If there's some kind of ceremony or event, or maybe if there's just a production, something that's going on for the end of year, if that's being streamed to everybody, you'd want all your parents or people that are watching to be view only, and you wouldn't want them all just to actually be interacting. It would be very much a stream where they're just watching. Something like this could be very beneficial for people in that situation.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's basically what I was about to say. Was sort of, however, you might want to sort of consider a live stream in that case rather than a Google Meet. But like you say, this is sort of a view only sort of meet, so it's a bit of an interesting sort of crossover here between a live stream and a Google Meet, which is in viewer mode only. So very, very nice to see. Great to see that expanded to the Google education market. And it's another thing, if like us, you're supporting education customers, it's another thing that Google Education Plus level does, which might be of interest to your customers. So they might sort of consider, we've got some customers, some education customers who are kind of on the fence. They're thinking about going to the paid version of Google Education. They just can't quite see all of the benefits yet. But as more things get added in, that will hopefully convince people to go across to those versions if it's relevant for them and they want to make use of those features. So that's great, Adam. Thank you very much. I think there's a link there as well, isn't there?
Yes. I've added a link for anybody that would like to learn more about scaling meetings with viewer mode, and that link is in our document.
That's great. Thank you, Adam. What have we got next, please? We're getting into the proper updates now, right?
Yes. So up next, we have a update to Google Chat. So the ability to create spaces, memberships, group chats, and more using the Google Chat API is now generally available. So last year, Google announced that developers could use the Google Chat API to programmatically create new spaces and add members to those spaces through the Google Workspace developer preview program. Now, these features are generally available to all Google Workspace developers, along with many other abilities to use the Chat API. And I've added a table with lots of links. I'm not going to read it through because I'm not sure it'll make much sense to everybody, but there is a table that I've added within our document. Highly recommend everybody comes in to has a look at this, because there are links to absolutely everything that you're able to do. So it's things to do with spaces, memberships, messages, reactions, and attachments. There's all various different things that you can use this API to do, and I've added lots of links in there for everybody. So all of those features enable developers to build solutions that integrate into workflows and pull contextual data into the conversation. Using the new API functionalities, you can set up new spaces that focus on a specific topic, team, or project. You can also use the new APIs to encourage collaboration and outreach with users within your organization. For example, Apps, which is a leading intranet platform, enables you to start a direct message in Google Chat from its user directory. Those who are trying to find others based on job titles, roles, departments, and other attributes can quickly start messaging each other, which sounds pretty cool. And I've got a little bit more on this. So to ensure that you are aware that a chat application has performed an action on behalf of a user, chat, web, and mobile apps will display the app name for system messages in chat messages.
Okay. This is going to be very, very useful for larger institutions, larger organisations, where they want to sort of integrate this to their existing systems, their existing workflow. The moving graphic is actually showing the example from Apps there. Apologies, Apps, if that's not how you pronounce your name, but we're doing our best. It shows an example there, which is very, very useful. And I can imagine that for a larger institution where you're using Google Workspace in the background, being able to integrate through an API so that it's all sort of integrated into your intranet or your internal system that you're using is really, really handy. And having all this information for the developers is great. So if anybody out there is listening who is a developer and is wanting to sort of integrate Google Chat or offer some kind of Google Chat integration service for those larger institutions, this is going to be golden for you to be able to have this information. And I think this is only a really positive update with all of those different things that developers can do.
Yeah, absolutely. I just had a quick thought, actually, what this kind of reminds me of. So I'm seeing more and more frequently these days, and it's coming for large businesses. Very well-known big brands are doing it as well. So if you wanted to get in contact with their support, whether it could be like the bank or actually really large well-known businesses, instead of just dropping them an email or writing them a letter, more and more frequently now you have the option to send them a message through social media, whether that's through WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger or something like that. So then you can just start a direct chat with somebody that works for that large corporation or organization. And so this just kind of reminded me of that a little bit, that it's kind of going along those lines, but instead of using WhatsApp or another messaging platform, it's using Google Chat.
Yeah, you're completely right, Adam. And it's good to see Google getting in on that. It's good to see Google opening up their wonderful chat system on an API so that it can integrate more with organizations, and realizing that those organizations want to integrate it with their existing systems. So I think it's very, very nice. And there is also, as well as moving graphics showing this in action with LumApps, there's also a static graphic showing you what Adam was saying in the additional information about how it highlights the information in the mobile apps. So the example that I've given here is, it says Anne Gray created this space in brackets via LumApps. So that's what they're meaning about giving you the extra information in that graphic. So what's the getting started here and rollout and availability, please?
Okay, so to get started with this for the admins can use the API controls within the admin console if they want to restrict access to Google Chat data. I've added a link within our document for that. Developers can access the new chat APIs through Google Chat API. So that is just super clear. If you're a developer and you would like to access the Google Chat API, then just go directly to the Google Chat API. I'm sure that makes sense. Right, rollout pace for this update. So this feature is available right now, so happy days. And this is going to be available to all Google Workspace customers, so right across the board.
Excellent. That's what we like to hear. That's very, very nice. What have we got next, please, Adam?
So up next, we have an update to AppSheet. I'm not sure if we've come across updates to AppSheet before, or definitely in some time if we have. So AppSheet core licenses will now be included by default for more Google Workspace editions, along with a brand new admin security setting. To bring the power of AppSheet to more users, AppSheet core licenses will now be included for Business Starter, Standard and Plus, Enterprise Starter and Standard, Frontline Starter and Standard, Non-Profits, and Education Standard. Note that AppSheet core licenses are already included for domain verified Google Workspace Enterprise Plus, Enterprise Essentials Plus, and Education Plus users. Your Google Workspace instance must be domain verified if you'd like to enjoy this feature. So remember that your Google Workspace instance must be domain verified. Along with expanding access, Google is giving admins a new organization level setting which controls how users are able to use their AppSheet core licenses, including whether app data can be shared externally. AppSheet allows users to maximize Google Workspace by building custom applications on top of Google Workspace and other services in their environment, all without writing any code. For example, you can build apps that record facility inspections, document inventory, or manage approvals. You can take advantage of AppSheet features and integrations, such as creating AppSheet-powered no-code chat apps for Google Workspace, link in the document. AppSheet database makes it easier for your organization and manage the data that power your apps directly inside AppSheet. You can also see the developer blog for more information, link in the document. You can also build custom automations with email, chat, and push notifications that integrate into your workflow, link in the document. By including AppSheet core licenses for more Google Workspace editions, the power of AppSheet is accessible for more users. Furthermore, admins will have the security features they need to ensure that their users are using AppSheet appropriately in their organization. You can also visit Google's Help Center to learn more about getting started with AppSheet, as well as the online community to collaborate with other AppSheet creators. Links in the document.
Fantastic. This is very, very nice to see all of this opened up to more versions of Google Workspace and more people being able to take advantage of AppSheet. So if, like us, you haven't had access to AppSheet before, you may want to start looking at it and having a look at some of these links, seeing what sort of automations you can set up, seeing what sort of different things you can get done. Anything that's no code is great for me because my brain cannot handle code. I'm absolutely hopeless when it comes to code and development, unfortunately. So this is very, very nice to see this open to more versions of Google Workspace, including ours.
Especially anybody that may have seen it, maybe you're already aware of AppSheet, but previously there was a cost involved, whereas now you may just find it's now just given to you if you're within one of the tiers, that is now just given AppSheet. So this could potentially be very intriguing for some listeners out there.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think we'll probably look into this a little bit when we've got some time, particularly around what automations we can do and things like that.
We do like an automation.
Oh yeah, love automation. Thank you, Adam. What's the getting started here, please?
Okay, but before that, I just have a few more details, though. Admins can use the new core license security setting in the Google Workspace admin console to control features related to whether app data can be shared externally. The setting will apply to the following functions for Google Workspace users using AppSheet Core, and that is sharing with external app users, connecting to external app data, automation emails to external recipients, and using external AppSheet apps. The setting applies to all AppSheet Core apps within your domain, and for more granular governance, then AppSheet Enterprise license will be required. So this is just standard AppSheet, but there is an AppSheet Enterprise license that is additionally available. For admins with existing AppSheet usage, this setting will be off by default to ensure no existing apps are disrupted. For admins without any existing AppSheet usage, this setting will be on by default.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. That's very good to hear. About those sort of different levels of controls, and for any admins listening, you'll be very pleased to hear about how those settings are turned on and off by default, because it is very useful to know that. Thank you, Adam. What's the getting started here, please?
Okay, so for the admins, if you're currently paying for AppSheet Core licenses, they will have to be cancelled manually. Impacted customers will receive a notification via email in the coming weeks for more information and next steps. Before changing the core license security setting, admins should check with their AppSheet creators to ensure that any active applications don't rely on the features controlled by the core license security setting. Admins can get a basic understanding of which users are using AppSheet by running a user report in the Google Workspace admin console, and I've added a link within our document for that, so if anyone would like a bit of help with that, because that could be a very key thing. If anybody is using AppSheet within your organisation, just check who's using it first before you go and cancel your current license, and because you don't want to accidentally mess anything up, essentially. For the partners to get started, you can use the Partner Advantage portal to learn more about how your customers can leverage AppSheet within their organisation and AppSheet's subscription plans. Links in the document. For their end users, though, you can also visit the AppSheet Help Centre to learn more about getting started with AppSheet. Links in the document.
That's brilliant. Thank you for all of that information, all of those links, Adam. That's really
there are lots and lots of links in the document.
Yeah, lots of links. But it makes sense. I mean, I can imagine this is a very sort of big thing, right? And I imagine a lot of people would need a lot of help going through this. If we were going to go through this,
to be fair, something like this warrants more information. So especially if you're considering using AppSheet, or if you're affected, if you're already paying for it, please do come and have a look, because yes, something like this, it does warrant kind of looking into what the full situation will be before you go and change anything.
Yeah, absolutely. And for anybody listening who is paying for it, that's a very useful piece of information, that you do have to cancel it manually. But also for anybody listening as customers who are paying for it, you might want to contact your customers and just let them know that they're no longer going to have to pay for those licenses. So that is very, very useful. What's the sort of rollout and availability here, please, Adam?
Rapid release and scheduled release. There is an extended rollout, so potentially longer than 15 days, which is starting on July 25th, so only in a couple of days, really. And this update is going to be available too. AppSheet core licenses are already included for domain verified Google Workspace Enterprise Plus, Enterprise Essentials Plus and Education Plus users. AppSheet core licenses will now be included for domain verified Google Workspace Business Starter, Business Standard, Business Plus, Enterprise Starter, Enterprise Standard, Frontline Starter and Standard, Nonprofits and Education Standard customers. Google Workspace for Education users designated as under the age of 18 are restricted from using AppSheet within their Google Workspace for Education accounts. And for more information, you can visit an article to Google's Help Center about controlling access to Google services by age. And of course, there's a link within our document for that.
That is very relevant because Google have talked about that before, and we've seen emails come out, again, because we deal with education clients, we've seen a lot of emails come out about those age-restricted applications, so that is very useful there. And they are really pushing the domain verified aspect as well. I mean, I would say that most people who are on Google Workspace aren't going to be domain verified, because otherwise a lot of stuff doesn't work, so I would have thought that you'd be domain
and AppSheet is one of them.
yeah, exactly, Adam, good point. But I would have thought you'd been domain verified, but it's good that Google are pointing that out anyway. Thank you for all that information, Adam. That was a very big update, but very, very useful for a lot of people, I'm sure. What have we got next, please?
So up next we have a Google Calendar update. So improved meeting room suggestions in Google Calendar. Previously, there were two different room suggestion types based on a company's Google Calendar settings. The first option lists frequently used rooms for you to pick from, while the second uses the structured meeting rooms feature to suggest rooms based on meeting attendees' self-selected working location. Note that structured meeting rooms refer to rooms that are assigned to specific buildings. There is an article in Google's Help Center to learn more about structured meeting rooms, and I've added a link to that within the document. To better optimize meeting rooms and foster greater collaboration, especially in a hybrid work environment, Google are combining the two options in an updated structured meeting room setting. The working location set by a user is taken into account for all room suggestions, and in cases where location data is unavailable, proposed meeting rooms will be based on frequently used rooms. This update manages meeting rooms more efficiently by taking planned working locations into account. As a result, meeting rooms are only allocated to those who are most likely to need them.
Very, very nice. Always good to see something that's doing something to sort of save people a bit of time and save people a bit of effort and make those suggestions there. And we're starting to see more and more, we've talked about it before, how Google are using this working location feature and integrating it with other features and bringing it in to make these very, very useful systems. So very nice to see that, and I think this is going to be really, really useful. Again, to slightly bigger organisations than ourselves, but very, very useful to see. I don't want to get too far ahead, but I'm going to be interested to see what the availability is on here, to see if there's, again, any education inclusion, because that would be very nice. I can imagine education institutions possibly wanting to use this to set up structured meeting rooms. So yeah, really, really nice to see this. And again, the static graphic gives some really good ideas as to what this looks like and how you can sort of use this. I think this is very nice. I think this is potentially very useful for people, Adam.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I know we definitely have seen over, we've not mentioned it for at least a couple of weeks, but Google have pushed quite heavily on setting a working location. And so I wonder if this was almost potentially not necessarily the reason why, but it kind of ties into their chain of thought as to why of what they were doing when they're wanting to push out everybody's working location. So I think something like this could definitely be very helpful to help people book their rooms a bit quicker. But then I do wonder if you would almost need everybody to have their working location set in order for this to work effectively.
Well, I think that's what they're sort of alluding to there when they're saying if the working location is unavailable, then it will default to sort of meeting rooms that are frequently used. But you are right, it would work best if everybody had their working location set, for sure, I think, with this particular feature. But you're not always going to get that in an ideal world. As we talked about before, these features sometimes can be a bit optimistic with expecting how people are going to sort of interact and use them. Thank you, Adam. I think there's some additional details here. Is that right?
Yes, so Google Calendar suggests rooms by taking a few things into account, and that is the main office building set by an admin or end user, the working location that has been set by the user's response to an event. So if you respond yes virtually or no, then it would suggest the user does not need a room. If you respond yes in a meeting room, then it suggests that the user does need a room. So that is quite good, that it is actually taking an intelligent response.
Yeah, I agree, and that is really, really useful to see it working in that way. But to be totally honest, we've become so used to that with Google's systems, haven't we? They really do sort of think about those extra things to tie all of those bits up and just give a really, really nice experience to the end user where they're not having to manually set those different things when the system can work it out for them. So I really, really like that.
Yeah, so something I just realised, I'm not sure if I was taking this update fully in, really, but when it was just saying that you can respond to an event, either saying yes virtually or yes in a meeting room, that to me just kind of implies that you could say, oh, if I wanted to have a meeting with you, I could just, let's set a date, let's have a meeting. But maybe we haven't ironed out all the details yet. So all we know at that stage is we want to have a meeting. And you could say, yes, let's just have a meeting virtually. Or no, actually we would like to meet you within this room. So it almost irons out the details a little bit more, all within Google Calendar. So all you'd need to actually input is basically saying, I want to have a meeting. And then the options will kind of determine how that meeting would then present itself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's probably what's happening there. In that case, I think that's probably what's going on. I think you're pretty accurate with what you're saying there. Thank you, Adam. What's the next thing here? I think we've got the getting started. Is that right?
Yes, so the getting started for the admins. Working location must be enabled or a main building must be set for the users in your domain to access this feature. You can also use Google's Help Center to learn more about turning working location on or off for your organization, creating buildings, features and calendar resources, and also setting up Google Calendar room booking suggestions. Links to all of that is within the document. For the end users, location-based suggestions will automatically appear when adding a room to an event if the working location is enabled by your admin and then set by you, a main office building is set by you or your admin, or other meeting attendees have their working location or a main office building set. Room suggestions based on frequently used rooms will automatically appear when adding a room to an event if neither a working location nor a main office building is set to a specific office building. If you disagree with the room suggestion, you can pick a room by clicking Browse All Rooms and Resources and then selecting the desired room. You can also search for rooms and buildings by building name or room name.
Yeah, it's really useful information for everybody, and even useful for the admins to hear a bit about the end users there, about the different things that need to be set up. So if you are an admin listening and you know your customer wants to use this, that's very useful to know those pieces of background information and prerequisites that need to be set up for this to all work. Thank you, Adam. What's the rollout and availability here, please?
Okay, so rapid release, there is a gradual rollout, so potentially up to 15 days for feature visibility, which started on July the 17th. Scheduled release, there is also a gradual rollout, which is starting on July the 31st. This update is going to be available to Google Workspace Business Standard, Business Plus, Enterprise Standard, Enterprise Plus, Education Fundamentals, Education Plus, and non-profits.
Oh, nice. So there is some education coverage in there. That's really nice to see that's going to be available there. Because I imagine some schools might want to use this, especially larger institutions, to set up their meetings and arrange their resources there. Again, if there's any listeners in America, well, we know we've got listeners in America, but if you are listening in America, very interested to know how your schools sort of handle this. Because I know that your schools are larger and they do use Google quite a bit. I'm very interested to know whether they use these type of features to sort of set up the rooms and set up different bits and pieces like that. So very interested to hear from any of our American friends listening.
Yeah, I can imagine this update definitely being very helpful for many people, but I was thinking even over here it could definitely be very helpful for secondary schools or colleges, universities, places like that. So not necessarily even if you're booking a meeting within a room, but just booking a room, just booking a space, whether you want to go and, I don't know, you have music practice with some friends, or you just want to go and study, or just for booking different areas around, I could see this being very helpful.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Absolutely. Thank you, Adam. What have we got next?
So up next, final update from us this week, and this is to do with Google Chat. So, introducing membership search and the option to add up to 50,000 members to spaces in Google Chat. So, in continuing Google's efforts to boost communication and collaboration for teams of all sizes in Google Workspace, Google are increasing the number of users you can add into a space within Google Chat from a measly 8,000 up to 50,000. And I have one word for that: chaotic. To say the best. Could you imagine if there's actually 50,000 people within the Google's Workspace? I would almost like to see it just for because I imagine it'd be entertaining just to watch.
It's in the graphic, Adam. It's static because if it was moving, it would be going absolutely bananas.
It is moving. The update just cannot keep up. The graphic cannot keep up with everything that is going on. Okay, so this update is especially impactful for company-wide announcements, event-orientated spaces, large communities within companies, and support-related spaces. Google hopes this feature will not only help increase connectivity and sense of belonging, and also create broader and more thriving communities within your organization. Additionally, Google are introducing the ability to easily search for members within a space. Well, I imagine if there's 50,000 members within that space, it will take some time to scroll, so then having the option to search is going to be required. If a member is present, you can change their role, and if a member is not present, you can add the member to the space.
Very nice in terms of being able to sort of search for those members. Like you say, it might take quite a while to scroll, so very useful to be able to search the directory there. But I've got to echo what you've said. 50,000 members in a chat, that is chaotic. That is exactly the word that I was thinking of.
I guess if almost everybody is view only within the chat or space, and as they kind of mentioned, if there's going to be some large company announcements, more as a bulletin board, say, I don't know, whether it's in retail, these are the products that are going to be pushing on for on special offers this week. So then if it's just more of a bulletin announcement to everybody or to different branches within a large company, then I can see this could be quite helpful. But if it is just 50,000 people that have just been let loose in a chat, then good luck keeping up with the conversation is all I can say to that.
I completely agree with you, and I think you've really hit the nail on the head there with what this is going to be used for. As Google alludes to here, company-wide announcements. I think it is going to be very much that one-way thing, and the static graphic that we were talking about earlier, there's nothing too exciting in it. It's just showing an example here where it says New York Office Talk, and there are 49,899 members. So yes, I think a lot of those members will be view only and not be sort of discussing in there. So it's I think it's a very useful update for those big organisations, and very, very useful to see. And if you've got any clients who are in those larger organisations, maybe they are going to be very excited that they have, as Adam says, that measly cap of 8,000 people per chat lifted to 50,000. Talking of admins, how do admins get started with this, please, Adam?
Okay, well they don't. So there are no admin controls for this feature, but what you can do is visit Google's Help Center if you'd like to learn more about Google Chat participant limits and optimizing Google Chat spaces for your organization. And I've added some lovely links within our document for that. And again, for their end users, you can visit Google's Help Center to learn more about spaces and group conversations and managing your space settings. Links for all of that is within our document.
That's great. Thank you, Adam. I think this really ties in, just very briefly talking about this really ties in with the whole space manager setting that we saw before, because this is making a lot more sense now.
You're going to need some managers for these kind of spaces.
Exactly. I mean, imagine if it was chat before and anybody could just make a space. You could just have anybody creating a space with 50,000 members in it and just going bananas. So it's very, very good to see those controls that Google put in before with having space managers so that you can limit who can create those spaces now that the limits are so high. So this is all making sense as to what they were implementing before. What's the rollout pace here, please, Adam?
Okay, so for large spaces, rapid release and scheduled release, there's going to be a gradual rollout, which started on July the 18th. So Google has not actually specified what a large space is, so maybe that's if you're over the 8,000 threshold, or just a number between 1 and 50,000. So if you identify yourself as being part of a large space, then that is when you will have access to this update. For the member search parts of this update on the web only, rapid release, there's going to be a gradual rollout which started on July the 20th. Scheduled release, there's also going to be a gradual rollout which is starting on August the 3rd. And for the member search, if you're on mobile, for Android users, there is going to be a gradual rollout which is starting on August the 7th. But for iOS users, there's also a gradual rollout, but that doesn't start until August the 28th. So they've got some time. Maybe they have some Apple hoops to jump through in order to do that.
Our theory is confirmed, Adam. As Apple users, we are relegated to the bottom of the rung. Our theory is confirmed here. No, I think actually you're right. It is probably Apple hoops to jump through. So yeah, that is probably quite true. And who is this going to be available for, Adam?
So this update is going to be available to all Google Workspace customers. So right across the board, available to everybody.
Do you know what? The chat team are so generous with who they give their updates out to. I don't think we've seen a single chat
You get a space, you get a space, you get a space.
Everybody's a space manager with 50,000 people per chat. I don't think we've seen a single update to Google Chat that hasn't been for all workspace levels. So very, very generous department to give those updates out to everybody. Very nice to see. We always like to see that. Or, hey, maybe the way that chat's built, they can't limit it to the different tiers of Google Workspace. No, very, very nice to see. And we always like updates to everybody. Well, thank you for all of that information, as always, Adam, and delivering it so lovely. And that is it, everybody. That's everything that you need to know about all of the latest updates happening in the world of Google Workspace. Remember that this podcast is available in audio format from your regular podcast provider, and also in video format, where you can see Adam and I's lovely new hairstyles. So we've both changed our hair together today on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/strawberry7. Thank you very much for joining us this week.
We'll be back again next week with more updates.
Goodbye.
Bye.